So the expectations are really high. Coming from last year, I didn't know what to expect. Now there's a standard. Coming in every day and just bringing energy and working hard.
You won't believe what happened after a Chicago Sky reporter criticized Angel Reese. For many years, women's basketball has provided a stage for fierce rivalries, courageous individuals, and life-changing moments beyond the court. However, few recent events have sparked as much debate or controversy as the public recognition of Angel Reese's pivotal contribution to the WNBA's remarkable growth.
Angel Reese kind of things online during interviews.
Renowned for her unapologetic confidence and unwavering resilience, Chicago Sky star Angel Reese found herself at the center of a media storm that exposed the gap between her bold claims and the harsh realities of professional sports. Just when it seemed the drama couldn't intensify further, a sudden shift in her role with the Sky added fuel to an already blazing fire. At the heart of this unfolding saga is the tension between Caitlin Clark's undeniable star power and Reese's assertion of her own influence. A narrative that goes beyond basketball, touching on themes of identity, ambition, and life under the relentless spotlight. Let's revisit the previous season, when Angel Reese burst into the WNBA with both a championship and a point to prove. Fresh off her NCAA title with LSU, she declared herself more than just an athlete. She was a sensation. Reese positioned herself as a key force behind the surge in popularity of women's basketball following LSU's win over Iowa, contending that Clark wasn't the sole driver behind the sold-out arenas and celebrity-filled sidelines. It was a bold statement that struck a chord with her devoted fanbase, solidifying her status as a polarizing figure who thrived under pressure. But that's when the challenges began. Bold claims demand proof, and Reese's narrative soon clashed with the realities of pro play. Excitement filled the room as the Chicago Sky held their press conference to launch the 2025 season. Second-year forward Ree was expected to build on a standout rookie year, where her rebounding skills had earned her national attention. But the mood shifted abruptly when a pointed question was asked. Did Angel still believe that women's basketball was being watched because of her? The question cut deep. It was a direct callback to her earlier statements, a moment that offered her the opportunity to reflect, double down, or pivot entirely. What happened next left many stunned.
Last year, you made a powerful statement saying the reason people are watching women's basketball is not just because of one player, but because of you too. A year later, do you feel like you're
Next question.
Yeah, we'll move on. Thank you.
Ray spoke just 2 words, but they stood out more than any highlight reel. Because in that moment, her own story was on the line. The room froze as the next question dropped. No defense, just statistics. Gone was the swagger, replaced by a brief, revealing hesitation that exposed the widening gap between her statements and the actual numbers. This wasn't just an uncomfortable moment. It was a visible crack in the carefully crafted image she had built. But then, everything took a shocking turn. The numbers, cold, unflinching, and impossible to argue with, began telling a story that Angel Reese could no longer ignore. Last season, the average attendance at Chicago Sky home games hovered around 8,000. In stark contrast, the Indiana Fever drew over 17,000 fans to Gainbridge Fieldhouse regularly, transforming every game into a sold-out event. Thanks largely to Caitlin Clark's magnetic presence. The difference was undeniable. It didn't end there. Reese's much-anticipated return to LSU for a preseason homecoming drew just 6,000 fans, less than half of the stadium's 13,000-seat capacity. It was hardly the celebration expected for a national champion. Even more telling were the preseason numbers. A Chicago Sky home game against the Minnesota Lynx attracted just 4,600 spectators, while an away game in Minnesota drew 7,600. Likely fans of the home team. These are not the stats of a player leading a cultural revolution, but rather those of a league still finding its footing. Yet here she was. And here's the twist no one saw coming. Caitlin Clark was quietly reshaping the WNBA's business model. While Reese's game struggled to fill seats, Clark didn't need to proclaim her influence. The numbers spoke louder than any press conference. Her homecoming game at Iowa's Carver Hawkeye Arena sold out in just 45 minutes, with all 15,000 seats gone. Preseason ticket prices for her games averaged over $600. Yes, you read that correctly. More than just a record for exhibition basketball. It was a seismic shift. The perception of women's basketball has shifted dramatically. Teams facing the Indiana Fever began relocating their home games to larger NBA arenas just to meet demand. A phenomenon never before seen in league history. Not even with Angel Reese or any other player. Caitlin Clark's impact was undeniable. Her jersey became the second best-selling basketball item in 2024, trailing only Steph Curry's, while Reese's didn't even crack the top 10. The Fever, capitalizing on Clark's star power, announced that every home game would feature tour-style merchandise, turning each matchup into a can't-miss event. The message was clear. Clark wasn't just a player, she was a movement. Meanwhile, as Reese faced tough questions and dwindling attendance, the Chicago Sky dropped a bombshell that sent shockwaves through the basketball world. New head coach Tyler Marsh announced a major overhaul to the team's offensive strategy, one that would completely redefine Reese's role. Gone was the paint-dominant, double-double machine fans knew. The Sky now envisioned Reese as a stretch forward, stepping out of the paint to take mid-range jumpers and help space the floor. Then came another unexpected twist. The focal point of this revamped offense? Not Reese, but Camila Cardoso, a rising Brazilian star whose size, grace, and raw potential quickly made her the new face of the franchise. This wasn't a minor adjustment. It was a complete identity shift, making things even more tense. Reese was absent from training camp after the announcement. Her physical dominance and aggressive rebounding were what built her reputation at LSU and in her rookie year, especially during her viral 19-rebound performance against Indiana. But the Sky's new system asked her to give up the very style that made her famous. With a career field goal percentage of just 39.1%, mostly from close-range attempts, Reese's slow shooting form made the transition to perimeter play feel unnatural. Asking her to stretch the floor was like asking a sprinter to run a marathon. And here's the surprising truth. This shift wasn't just about Reese. The Sky were retooling their roster for a modern WNBA that values versatility, ball movement, and floor spacing. Enter Cardoso, whose soft touch, better mobility, and polished game made her the logical centerpiece. The reins that once belonged to Reese were now handed to a new star. Just days after making headlines with her national team, Cardoso was hailed as the franchise's future. Social media exploded with accusations that the Sky were sabotaging Reese's image to elevate Cardoso. Many claimed the strategy was designed to end Reese's record-breaking rebounding streak before it could define her legacy. But here's what isn't being said beyond the swirling conspiracy theories. This isn't about bias, it's about basketball. In today's WNBA, teams need forwards who can shoot, create offense, and adapt. The game has evolved, and the Sky are trying to evolve with it. Reese's one-dimensional game, built around rebounding, putbacks, and repetition, makes her increasingly susceptible to defenses that clog the paint and force her into difficult shots. The tension is undeniable, and her silence says more than any press conference could. Her absence from training camp isn't just a scheduling issue, it's a statement. While most elite athletes would see a role change as a challenge to grow and prove doubters wrong, Reese seems to view it as a betrayal of the identity she's worked tirelessly to build. Her fans are growing louder, with posts like "Leave Chicago," "They don't deserve you," Angel flooding social media. But outrage often clouds the bigger picture. And the hard truth is that Reese's legacy may end up defined more by her resistance to adapt than by her stat lines. In contrast, Caitlin Clark continues to elevate the WNBA without ever centering herself in the spotlight. Her games regularly draw over 1 million viewers. Her jersey ranks just behind NBA icons in sales. And the Indiana Fever now have more nationally televised games than even the Los Angeles Lakers. Clark isn't just filling arenas. She's forcing teams and the league itself to rethink their marketing strategies, upgrade facilities, and raise the bar. The Fever's approach is a textbook example of how to maximize star power, surrounding her with seasoned veterans like Sophie Cunningham and Natasha Howard to build a team designed to win immediately. Cunningham's comparison of Clark to a younger, more charismatic, and dangerous Diana Taurasi captures the essence of her celebrity. Earned, not claimed. Meanwhile, the Sky seem unsure of how to handle Reese's future. While Indiana has built around Clark with intention, Chicago's strategy has lacked clarity, failing to support Reese with the right talent or a clear vision. Is she a franchise cornerstone or a placeholder in a rebuilding process? The lack of direction is troubling, especially in a league that's evolving rapidly. But this story is bigger than just 2 players. It reveals how teams manage star personas, weigh hype versus results, and pivot when narratives outpace reality. The question now is whether Reese will rise to the challenge, develop her game, and prove she's more than a rebounding specialist, or seek a fresh start with a team willing to bet on her terms. The outcome will shape not only her career, but also the conversation around WNBA player autonomy and brand power. All of this sets the stage for a high-stakes showdown on May 17, 2025, when the Chicago Sky face the Indiana Fever in what many are calling the Ali versus Frazier of women's basketball. A battle that will reflect not just athletic skill, but the future direction of the league itself.